Over the last 4 decades, dozens of American professional wrestlers have died before their 60th birthday. Painkillers, cocaine, steroids, heart failure, head trauma so severe that the doctors who examined their brains afterward said they had never seen anything like it. Today we look at the wrestlers who never made it to 60, the real price of the ring. Andre the Giant. Andre René Roussimoff was born in Grenoble, France in 1946. By the time he was 13, he was already 6'3". By 15, 6'7". The condition was called acromegaly, untreated pituitary giantism, and it would kill him before he was 50. He knew this. It was a bargain he had accepted, he once told a wrestling writer, in exchange for being paid to travel the world. He was, for 2 decades, the most famous professional wrestler on earth. WrestleMania 3 in the Pontiac Silverdome in 1987 drew 93,000 people to watch him lose to Hulk Hogan. Rob Reiner cast him that same year as Fezzik in The Princess Bride. He was in almost every scene of that film with his back visibly hurting. He flew to Paris in January 1993 to bury his father. He died 2 days after the funeral in his hotel room of congestive heart failure. He was 46. His ashes are scattered on his ranch in Ellerbe, North Carolina. Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman had been an undersized linebacker at the University of Cincinnati, then a Bengals free agent, then a Canadian wrestler, and then, by the mid-90s, one of the most bookable minds in American professional wrestling. He was called the Loose Cannon. He was under contract to WCW when he called Vince McMahon in 1996 to ask for a job. McMahon signed him. 2 months later, driving home from a Ken Shamrock training session, Pillman fell asleep behind the wheel of his Humvee in Fentress County, Kentucky. The crash shattered his ankle in 93 places. The recovery never quite worked. He wrestled through the pain for the next year on Painkillers and Pride. He was 35. Steve Austin, who had wrestled him in a legendary series the year before, was one of his pallbearers. Owen Hart. Owen Hart was the youngest of Stu and Helen Hart's 8 sons. He had grown up in the basement wrestling ring in Calgary, Alberta, that came to be called the Hart Dungeon. His brother Brett was, by the time Owen turned 30, the WWF World Champion. Owen was, by his own preference, the second Hart, the one who took the smaller check and stayed at home more often. On May 23, 1999, at Kemper Arena in Kansas City, he was scheduled to make a superhero entrance from the rafters as his character, the Blue Blazer, lowered by a harness onto the ring while confetti fell. The quick-release mechanism triggered too early. He fell 78 feet. He was pronounced dead on the way to the hospital. The over-the-edge pay-per-view continued that night, with the paying audience unaware of what had happened backstage. Vince McMahon defended the decision afterward, and would spend much of his life defending it. Hart was 34. He is buried at Queen's Park Cemetery in Calgary, in the same city where his father had built the ring. British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Davey Boy Smith married into the Hart family in 1984 and, as the British Bulldog, spent most of the next 15 years as one of the top attractions in North American wrestling. He was Owen Hart's brother-in-law. His match against Bret Hart at SummerSlam 1992, in front of 80,000 people at Wembley Stadium in London, is still remembered as one of the great wrestling matches of that decade. The years after Owen's death were harder. His marriage to Diana Hart ended. He was hospitalized for a staph infection contracted from an unclean needle. He struggled with painkillers and steroids and the years of physical damage that had, by then, become impossible to hide. He died in his sleep at a Canadian summer cottage on Windermere Lake in Invermere, British Columbia, on May 18, 2002. The autopsy ruled the cause a heart attack. He was 39. His son, Harry, the wrestler now known as Davey Boy Smith Jr., was 13. Miss Elizabeth. Elizabeth Ann Hewlett was married to Randy Savage for 8 years. She was the manager who came to the ring with him at almost every wrestling event they attended between 1985 and 1992. Long dark hair, floor-length dresses, hands folded, never once speaking on camera. She was called simply Miss Elizabeth. Her television silence had, for viewers of a certain age, become the most eloquent thing about her. She and Savage divorced in 1992. She spent the years after with the wrestler Lex Luger, in and out of a relationship that became public through police reports. 5 days later, she was found unresponsive at that same home. The Cobb County medical examiner ruled the cause an accidental overdose of hydrocodone, oxycodone, meprobamate, propoxyphene, and vodka. She was 42. She is buried in Frankfort, Kentucky, in the town where she was born. Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero was the youngest of 6 children born to the wrestler Guerrero in El Paso, Texas. All 4 of his older brothers had wrestled professionally. He had begun training at 8 years old on the mattress in his family's living room. He went pro in 1987. He worked over the next 15 years in Mexico and Japan, in ECW and WCW, and finally, from 2000 on, at WWE. He had been sober for 4 years when in 2004, he won the WWE Championship. His acceptance speech at ringside, arms around his family, tears he did not try to stop, is one of the most watched clips in professional wrestling history. On the morning of November 13, 2005, his nephew Chavo Guerrero found him unresponsive in his hotel room in Minneapolis. He had died of heart failure caused by arteriosclerotic heart disease, worsened by 2 decades of anabolic steroid use, and a body that had never fully recovered from the years of addiction he had defeated. He was 38. He is buried in Chandler, Arizona. Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit was a Canadian-born wrestler who had made his career in Japan and Mexico before joining WCW in 1995 and WWE in 2000. He had, for 2 decades, been considered one of the great technical craftsmen in the sport, a man whose in-ring vocabulary had been shaped by years of studying tapes in a warehouse in Calgary. Over the weekend of June 22, 2007, at his home in Fayetteville, Georgia, he killed his wife Nancy, their 7-year-old son Daniel, and then himself. He was 40. WWE, which had produced a tribute broadcast for him within 12 hours of the news, revoked it the following day and has not mentioned his name on air since. His brain was donated for study to the Sports Legacy Institute. What the pathologist Dr. Bennett Omalu and his colleagues found was chronic traumatic encephalopathy so extensive it resembled the brain of an 80-year-old Alzheimer's patient. Benoit had, in Omalu's own words, been suffering the kind of damage that impairs judgment and impulse for years, unrecognized. His burial place has not been publicly disclosed. Randy Macho Man Savage. Randy Poffo was the son of a wrestler and the brother of a wrestler. He had been a minor league baseball catcher, 4 seasons in the St. Louis Cardinals and Cincinnati Reds systems, before, at 22, joining his father's small territorial promotion in Kentucky. By 1985, when he arrived at the WWF as the Macho Man, his voice, his walk, and his phrase, "Ooh yeah," had already been perfected in 100 barrel fire arenas across the American South. He was, for a decade, alongside Hulk Hogan, the face of Vince McMahon's national wrestling business. His match against Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3 in 1987 is still, 38 years later, considered one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time. On May 20, 2011, driving with his second wife Lynn near their home in Seminole, Florida, he suffered a fatal cardiac arrhythmia at the wheel. His Jeep left the road and hit a tree. He was pronounced dead at Largo Medical Center. He was 58. His ashes were mixed with those of his old dog Hercules and scattered on their Florida property. Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior was born James Brian Hellwig in Crawfordsville, Indiana, in 1959. Wrestled in the WWF for less than a decade in total, but his character, face-painted, arm-flexing, rope-shaking, telling incoherent promos into the camera at a volume that could crack a microphone, was one of the most imitated things about American culture in 1990. His relationship with Vince McMahon had ended badly in 1996 and had not been repaired for 18 years. In the spring of 2014, WWE inducted him into their Hall of Fame. He gave the acceptance speech on April 5th. He appeared on Monday Night Raw on April 7th. He spoke to the audience for the last time. He collapsed on the sidewalk outside a hotel in Scottsdale, Arizona, on April 8th, walking with his wife. He was pronounced dead of atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. He was 54. WWE aired footage of his final speech at the beginning of the next night's broadcast. If any of these names still mean something to you, turn on notifications so the next one finds you. Another story waits on screen.